Alright, so in some of my previous videos, in some of my C# projects, you might have seen the mouse automation that the program does, right? Like for example, my autoclicker, the program clicks on its own. So basically what I want to do, I briefly talked about, at least in my autoclicker development video, I briefly talked about the SendInput function, right? But I think today I want to do a more in-depth tutorial on actually how to programmatically, whatever you want to call it, send mouse clicks, right? So maybe you can build your own auto clicker. So basically, we're gonna do this in C++, because in C# when I did this, I actually had to use a C++ library, right? So we're gonna start with C++, the most basic, really. So basically, here I just have a really simple program, right? So basic, and it basically just says hello from SendInput tutorial, press any key to continue. Easy, right? So basically, I'm gonna make this program just click, right? Now to do that, I'm gonna use the SendInput function from winuser.h. We don't need to import this. I'll show you what you actually need to include. But basically, synthesizes keystrokes, blah blah blah. So when we use this function, we need to like plug in. We need to have some arguments, right? This argument is simple. This is simple, but the main argument really is this array of input structures. Now, if we take a look at this input structure, we have a structure with some stuff, right? So we want to do a mouse click, right? So we're gonna use a mouse input. We're gonna use the .mi part of the union, right, in this structure. But let me just show you real quick. So let's get rid of this. All right, and we need to include, first of all, windows.h. All right, this is when we're using Windows, right? If you're using Linux or Mac OS, yeah, I might need to find another tutorial because I'm making this for Windows, right? So basically, we need to create an input structure. So I'll say input. Right, you can see it recognizes a valid structure, right? Input, I'm gonna call it mousey, right? Input mousey, and how many? Let's see. We want an array of input structures. I'll make it 2, right? We'll have 2 structures in the array. One for the mouse down, right? One for the mouse down, and one for the mouse up, right? Event to make a full click. So we'll have 2 structures in the array. We'll initialize those later. Right now we have an empty structure array. So basically what we want, right? We need to specify the type and then we need to specify the type and then fill in the mouse input array. Now the mouse input array is basically the actual details, right? Like which coordinates to click at, some mouse data, flags, time, right? So go one step at a time. We'll say that our first structure in the array, mousey, it's gonna start with a 0. Dot type is equal to input mouse underscore mouse, right? Really simple. Now mousey, the first structure in the array, we're gonna fill in the mouse input, right? We're gonna fill in the mouse input structure. So basically, fill in the DX, or really the ID, if you're using one, should tell you what can be filled in. But if in doubt, just look at the documentation. Really not that bad. So DX. So let's talk about this DX real quick because it's important. So this is DX basically. It can be either the absolute position of the mouse or the amount of motion since the last mouse event was generated. Now it depends on the flags, right? I haven't really gotten the flags to work with the absolute position. So we're gonna, in this example, just use amount of motion since the last mouse event was generated. So basically the idea is I'm gonna wanna put my mouse cursor at some place and then just have it click at that place. Have the program click at that place. So we're gonna say dx is equal to 0. Click wherever the mouse cursor is at. dy is also gonna be 0. Right, .mi.dy is equal to 0. Mousey, I'm just filling stuff in, right? Let's see here. We did dx, dy. Let's take a look at mouse data. Let's see what comes next. Mouse data, yep. So basically, really, if you're doing a left click or really a right click, it doesn't matter. If your flags don't contain any wheel motion or stuff like that, then it should just be 0. So mouse data, we'll just say is just equal to 0. Really easy. let's see what's next. DW flags. Okay, so basically we have a bunch of flags. These all look kind of scary, but with our, given how we're using the DX and DY, the only actual flag we need is mouse event f underscore left down, right? So we'll just put that in mousey 0.mi.mouse on DW. Hold on, this DW flags. Alright, I see the problem. I forgot the Y and mousey. Let's try again. Right. I was looking that something was off because it wasn't auto suggesting, right? But we just need a mouse event f. If I can type left down. So for the click down event, okay. So let's see here, mouse event of left down. Time. Alright, let's look at time. Timestamp for the event in milliseconds. If the parameter is 0, system will provide its own timestamp. We don't actually care about the timestamp. We just want the damn thing to click. So just put it at, put that 0. Mi dot time. Make that 0. I don't really care. DW extra info. An additional value. Now for me, it usually works. I mean, I don't really need to use the. I don't really need to use the get message extra info. Usually when I set it to 0, it works. So you can set it to 0. That works for me. So we'll put DW extra info is equal to 0. Alright. So now, okay, look at this. We filled out the structures and stuff for the first mouse event, which is the left down. Now we need to do it for the left up. So we'll just Control C this, right? Control C this, and then we'll Control V. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. Everything is going to be the same. We want input mouse, dx, dy, we want to be the same as before. So 0. It's not going to change anything really. Mouse data, same thing, right? But this thing, mouse event f left or down, we want to change it to mouse event f left up, right? So we want the one for the click down, mouse up to produce a full click. Now we're ready. After all the setup, we'll do a send input, right? We'll do a send input. Now let's see, let's go back to our original tab, send input. Take a look at this. Number of structures in the p inputs array, or pointer inputs array. Now that's really easy. We can use the array size function macro, I think. Just plug in, just put mousey, right? Really easy, not throwing an error, that's a good thing. Now array, so point it to the array of input structures, right? So we'll just put the array name in, just mousey, that's it. Now the size, right? The size in bytes of an input structure. Alright, this is just screaming to me, do size of, right? So I'll just do size of an input, right? Really easy. Now, I think we finished, right? But I'm gonna put a real quick, just for debugging purposes, I'll put a system, just put a system pause. Yeah, I know the overhead and whatever, and a lot of setup and tear down with system. But I'll let you guys fight over that on Stack Overflow. For our purposes, system pause will work. So let's take a look. Once this thing loads. Alright, so it's loaded, right? Press any key to continue. So since we set dx and dy to be 0, it's gonna click wherever we set our mouse cursor to click, right? So it's gonna click wherever our mouse cursor is. So let's say I want to see here. Let's say I want to click on the start button, okay? So I'm just gonna put my mouse cursor on the start button. And then just press any key to continue, and all the code should execute in the send input stuff. So let's do it. Let's see if it clicks the start button. If it's successful, then you'll obviously see my start menu. So let's see. Okay, so that did not work apparently. Let's see. Let's try again. I think maybe what I need to do, because sometimes this function is subject to UIPI, right? So maybe what we need to do, right? I think we might need to wait, hold up. Actually, you know what? Before I even do that, I see the problem right here. Let's see. I'll give you some time to notice, right? See if you can notice the problem. I'll give you about 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So I filled in the first part of the mousey array, but here I kind of overrode that with the left up. So I need to change this all to 1. Okay, alright, this was not intentional, by the way. Alright, let's see if this works now. Let's see once this compiles. Okay, alright. Once again, I'm gonna put my mouse cursor on the start button, see if it clicks when I press any key. So I'm just pressing any key, and look at that. You see my start button, right? I'm not doing any, like, I'm not clicking like behind the scenes or anything. The program is clicking on its own, right? Let's see if I can get it to exit itself by actually no, that's no fun. Normally when you click on the command window, you get like a nice, I don't know, a nice white block. So I put my cursor here, I'll press any key. We'll see if I get a white block where my cursor is. Look at that, you saw that white block. So yes, this is how you send a mouse click. So really interesting, really not too bad. Kind of low level Windows API stuff. But hopefully you learned something, and I will see you in the next video, whenever that may be. Hopefully it shouldn't hopefully be like too far into the future. But whatever, follow for more.